till we get to springtime.
So you're in the shot a little bit better.
My man, you have got approximately 62 seconds to radio stardom. God, 20 degrees with a wind chill at 3 above. I'll tell you what, the coldest game I've ever seen in my life was the 2013 Grey Cup Championship in Regina, Saskatchewan. It was minus 33 Celsius without the wind. That's minus 30 Fahrenheit. And there's guys out there with sleeveless shirts playing football, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I mean, I've been to Canada. I've never been to that part, but it's flat like Kansas. It's the wheat capital of the nation. Man, those winds. Woo! Guys, get ready. We got 15 seconds. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Recovery Talk, Hope, and Help for the Hurting. My name is Jim Quigley. I'm your host. I've been doing this show for, I don't know, about good 9 months, maybe 9 months. Yeah, I'm getting so it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but we really enjoy doing this show every week. And today we have a special guest. My friend Mr. Skinner is with us, and just say hi to everybody in the radio world and on Facebook Live there, Brad.
Good morning, everybody.
So Brad told his parents he might be on today, so maybe they're watching too. And the amazing Todd is running the board for us. And Todd, if you could put up for us on the Facebook Freedom Auto Tech's phone number, because my daughter has taken off my little cheat sheet up here with all the phone numbers and everything that I read off from. So, but anyway, while I'm waiting for that number to pop up, let me just give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Freedom Auto Tech. You know what? You find yourself, if you own a vehicle, sometimes in need of repair. I mean, it just comes with owning a vehicle, right? But you know what's nice is to be able to go and get your vehicle fixed, but at the same time help a good cause. And this is the concept of this Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a professional auto shop, has professional mechanic, certified. He worked for Toyota for a few years. We have warranties that we give out with the parts, a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty. But at the same time as you're getting your car fixed and getting this good job done, the profits of this business go to support the ministry of Freedom Farm. So Freedom Farm is a 1-year recovery ministry. So these proceeds go to help men in recovery. So, it's kind of a no-brainer if you got a problem in your car, go get it fixed and know that, hey, you know what? The money that this place is taking and giving me that I would spend anywhere to get my car fixed, those profits are going to help men in recovery. The number for Freedom Auto Tech, because Todd has put it up there for me, is 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. I want to thank Mike Kelly, that's giggling right now, because he's been letting the community know through the swap shop also that we've been needing firewood, and he just asked him about it. And you know what? We have been getting people donating firewood to us, and that really helps out too.
You're still needing goods for your store?
Yeah, so we need stuff for our store. Go to that auto shop, buy firewood from Freedom Farm. All those entities go to help support the ministry of Freedom Farm. 828-355-4434. That's the number of the shop. And hey, if you're listening to the show or watching the show, and you want to call in and ask Brad a question, because he's a very interesting guy. You can do that too. It's 828-262-1567. 828-262-1567. Anyway, I just got back from Florida yesterday. I went down for a 3-day trip and enjoyed myself. We were able to, my family of 4, get, you wouldn't believe this, flight down to Florida and back for $350, all 4 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, from Asheville. So I'm not going to promote the airline on the air, but you can find those deals out there. if you know how to pack, because they charge you for all those packs.
Driving.
Anyway, Brad, I'm glad to have you on here. I know that we've talked before coming on the show. Public speaking of any kind is not your forte. That's how he answered me when I said, "Hey, you want to be on the show?" But you know what? You got a story to tell, man. And you know what? That's what this show's about. So remember that as we're going through your journey here. You know, hope and help for the hurting. There's people there listening. We have parents. We have people out there that are struggling right now. They want to hear you have a story, man. You were a guy that was in bondage to where you were having some serious physical health issues. We'll let you tell that. And you know what? You're experienced some good sobriety and good freedom and a changed life. And we want to hear a little bit about that. So why don't we start your story? Why don't you tell everybody where you're from, where you grew up, to start there.
Okay. I'm Brad Skinner. I'm from Wilson, North Carolina. I'm 30 years old. And let's see. Growing up, I had a great childhood. My parents were godly people, took me to church every Sunday, and pretty much anything I needed from them, they were, working hard to make that possible. And coming through school and everything, I was good at sports. I was top of my class. I always made really good grades. Everything kind of came easy to me. So I started to, kind of build up a sense of pride in myself that, I'm better than certain people because I hung out with the higher, group of people in school, as far as like kids that hang out in the country club or whatever. And it was around high school that I started hanging out with people. We were drinking, on the weekends and smoking marijuana. And that was pretty much what we did every weekend in high school. After the baseball games, we'd get together with our group of friends and just binge drink and smoke marijuana until we passed out. And I was able to control myself as far as like still maintaining my grades and everything like that, because graduating high school, I was in the top 10% of my class. Graduated with honors, and I got accepted into the engineering program at NC State, and that was a lifelong dream of mine. And I went there not realizing how much freedom that I was about to experience, and a major shock in the system, so to speak.
You get a lot of freedom when you go away to college?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
More than what I needed, especially with my time management skills. But so I get there, and it's just unlimited supply of alcohol and drugs. I started doing cocaine. That got to be a big problem, because I was doing it almost every night. I would come home some weekends just to take a break, just to sleep, because I was rarely going to class. So we'd start drinking 1 o'clock in the afternoon and go until, sometimes the sun came out. And
were you in the fraternity world?
I had a lot of buddies that were in there.
Okay.
But after my first semester of grades, my dad wouldn't approve of paying for me to be in a fraternity, that he knew I was going to be partying more, but it didn't stop me from still going to the parties and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I ended up, my grades started to suffer, and I remember when I failed my first class, my dad did the best he could to kind of tell me that, son, you're doing okay, but you can do better. You know what I'm saying? You're selling yourself short, And I took it the wrong way, because I was like, man, I'm never going to please this guy. But he was trying to teach me how to be a better man, Mm-hmm. And when I failed that first class, I remember I was just devastated. I was like, man, I've never done this before. And, my parents weren't mad. They were just kind of upset. And it hurt me, and I just kind of drowned that out with more alcohol and more cocaine. And the next following semesters, I kept messing up. I couldn't maintain my grades, and got pulled into the guidance counselor's office at my advisor at NC State. And he was like, look, we're going to have to put you on academic probation because you're down to a 1.9 GPA.
That's pretty low.
That's not good. 10%
10% of your class down to 1.9.
There you go. And I was I started doing some research into other colleges and stuff like that because a bunch of my friends were like, yeah, you can transfer and your GPA will start over. So I was like, all right, well, I found out about ECU and I transferred there and did the construction management program there. Well, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stay home for a little bit and commute back and forth. Well, I did that, but I started linking up with some of my buddies from high school. And a big thing that was coming along when I was about 21 was painkillers. And I had never taken a pill or anything like that. And I was like, I was so against it. I was like, I'm not going to do it if, it's not prescribed by a doctor or anything like that. But then my buddies were like, well, you're doing cocaine and smoking pot. It's not prescribed by a doctor. You don't know where that's coming from. So,
So to get me straight, you're getting a little drug addict self-righteousness.
There
huh?
you go. Yeah.
I'm not going to take a pill that's not prescribed by a doctor while you're using cocaine.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my
Just wanna make sure.
justification there.
There you go.
But-
Okay.
So one night I didn't have any alcohol and I was kind of up from the cocaine and my buddy was like, here, this will help you sleep, and he gave me 2 Percocets and I didn't know it at the time, but it made me feel like great, like mellowed out and everything. And I always had problems with my stomach coming through high school and through college, and I never got diagnosed of what that problem was, but I just knew that these pain pills made my stomach feel awesome, and it gave me the sense of that I could do anything and achieve my goals that I wanted to achieve in life. And so I didn't care about really alcohol or cocaine from that point on. I was just looking for the pills, and Oxycontin, the 80 milligrams were really prevalent in Wilson. One of my buddies worked at the pharmaceutical company where they made them, and he was stealing them. So I had an abundant supply of those, and I was able to do them and go to class and still function. It gave me energy. So I ended up, all through the last 3 years of college, I was on some form of pain pill. And I graduated top 10% of my class in construction management at ECU, and got a great job coming out of college at a firm in Wilson. They did heavy highway and bridge construction, and but I kept fooling myself that I needed these pills. And right when I started that job, that's when I went to the doctor, and they found out that I had Crohn's disease. Well, I kind of hinted to the doctor that I had been taking medication for it, and he was like, that's probably why you like it so much, because it's helping to, dull the inflammation in your stomach. And I was like, well, he just gave me reason right there that I should keep doing this.
So I need these pills.
Right.
I have Crohn's disease.
Yes, I had it in my head that I needed them.
Well, what are we coming up on, 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
We got 30 seconds. But so just to kind of recap, you've made it through college. You now have a good job with a construction company, and you've just been told by a doctor you have Crohn's disease, which just gave you justification to take these pain pills, which you've already been taking.
Right.
And so now you have all the reason in the world to just continue taking more. But
right.
Why don't we dive back into your story when we get back from break? Stick with us.
Boy, dude, that is an interesting story. But how often do you see that? People get, you know what I'm saying? People get so hooked on it, and what I think a lot of it is, and you can relate to this, it just makes you feel, in your mind, so good that you become, see, I can't believe that you even did that stuff. I mean, looking at you and the way I've heard you describe yourself, like especially with you owned a bar where in the Caribbean,
Costa Rica.
and I'm like, get out of town. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, I was a complete mess. I mean, I can't believe that. I would think it was a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually, at the program, at one point share my story with the guys because of that very reason.
I mean, I just can't believe it.
You get it removed from it to a certain degree to where people don't realize that you actually, you kind of earned your spot there,
Well, I tell you what, you guys, and again, it's not, it's kind of like what happened with a player on the football team a couple of years ago. and he got kicked off the team. He got warned twice. And finally, he got kicked off the team. He was 15, and he's drinking hard liquor, and he was also selling it. Where he was getting it, I don't know. And Ryan Hobbick dismissed him. But to Ryan's credit, and I got this from one of the seniors, he held an emergency team meeting the day this boy was dismissed. And he told them what was going on. And he said, I don't want anybody putting this guy down. I don't want him being criticized at all. What you guys need to do is you guys need to take him under your wing and get this guy to understand that he can trust you guys. He ain't going to trust me because I'm an adult. I'm the enemy. But he'll trust you. And he appointed certain guys that were born older to step in.
Sure.
And little by little, they talked him into coming into off-season workouts, to getting re-involved with the team, and eventually got reinstated. And the kid told me with his own words, his senior year, he'd gotten a scholarship to play football at Western Carolina. He said, if it wasn't for Coach and my teammates, I don't know where the hell I'd be right now. He said, because if I'd have been kicked off that team and somebody wouldn't have reached out, I don't know where I'd have been. He said, I was lost. I was angry. I was pissed off. And that's just the way it is. We're not talking about you. You don't piss anybody off. Thank you. Okay, Jimmy, you got less than a minute. But I mean, it's... So I can relate where you guys are coming from with this. I mean, he's now at Western Carolina. He's in his freshman year. He got redshirted. You know, and Coach keeps in touch with him. And he thanks him every time. He said, I never would have dreamed of this. But I'm telling you, the important thing is that you need to befriend these people. That's why a guy like this is so valuable.
Yeah.
He's been down that road.
That's right.
He's not going to BS you.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the first thing you're going to look at is his credibility. The man's got the credibility longer than his arm. I mean, I can't believe it when you say stuff you've done. God, man, dude, where the hell were you? I can't believe
out
that.
there, my friend.
I can't believe it. Here we go.
We're back with Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. Recovery Talk is a show about recovery and from substance abuse, and we aren't afraid to talk about specifically on this show recovery from substance abuse, understanding who you are in Christ. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that part of your story here, Brad. But real quick, want to tell you that Recovery Talk, this show and this ministry, Freedom Farm, is brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a shop here in town, gives you professional service to your vehicle when in need of repair, and you can feel confident when you get your car repaired there that you're actually helping out a good cause, which is the ministry of Freedom Farm Ministries. Freedom Farm is a one-year program. Men come up, and we have success stories that we like to bring on the air and show, like myself and my brother here, Brad. But if you got a problem with your car, which if you own a car that happens, give them a call, 828-355-4434, and they'll get you fixed right up. And just want to plug a couple things too. If you need a firewood, call Freedom Farm Ministries. They're ready to bring you a good cord, good price, delivered and stacked, and also if you need good used items for your house, go check out the thrift store. And if you got good used items that you no longer need, bring them over there, because all those entities go to help Freedom Farm Ministries. All right, Brad, so you graduated college. You probably look back on that time as that was kind of a miracle. Mm-hmm. But, you know what? That's kind of something that probably important for people to know. You don't start off using drugs, and a lot of times they don't immediately become like this big hindrance. They for a little while, they give you like that edge, Yeah. But anything that gives you basically a cheating edge in life ends up harming you in the end. You know, I mean, just talk to all the sports guys that that took illegal drugs. To get that physical edge. People in the Olympics, all that stuff. It's not rewarded. I mean, look at Lance Armstrong. How many of those things did he get stripped from? Like seven of them. And now he's a disgrace. So, but anyway, people do it. It's very attractive, and that is usually a common experience with pain pills. They make you feel like Superman. I mean, if you can imagine, any little ache and pain, it's gone. And actually, they do give you energy. You feel like you get energy, but obviously that does not last, right?
No, sir.
So you're working and at this company. Tell us what happens next.
All right. Yeah, so like I said, I had a management position. I was in training to be a superintendent. My first job out of college, they gave me a truck, phone, a salary, pay vacation, full benefits, And so I'm working in all Eastern North Carolina, going around and building bridges and, doing pills every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. I couldn't get out of bed and make it to work unless I had them. And it was, normally I could find the money to get them. It was rare that I had to, couldn't find them and I'd call out sick. That was the main reason I would miss work, is I couldn't find them.
How old were you about this time?
23.
23. Okay.
And but I was good at living a lie, everyone, on the outside, I thought that I had everyone fooled, because all the girls I was in relationships with, they started around this time going to my parents and saying, I think Brad's got a problem. And of course, my response is, Mom, Dad, look at what I'm doing here. Like, I don't have no problem. Whoa, she's crazy. So I would just bounce to the next one and, do the same thing, and she would do the same thing. And, it wasn't after about a handful of girlfriends that my mom was like, you are the only common denominator here. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But so I was working, and I finally started, showing up late a lot. And I had started to use the pain pills intravenously, the IV, and that's when it started to kind of really go downhill rapidly, and but I still thought I could keep it under control and I didn't have a problem. A lot of my buddies at this time that were in the same circle, were dying off or going to rehabs, they, I could see it affecting their lives, but I was fooling myself because I was like, well, I need this, this is helping me to do what I need to do. And I'm still somewhat successful in my mind. And so I remember one time I knew my project manager was going to come meet me at work that morning, and he was going to talk to me, but he wasn't going to, let me go or anything, but I had it in my mind. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and fix this before it becomes a problem or something like that. And I was like, I don't really like this job. I had made up all these reasons why I didn't like it or whatever. So when he was talking to me, he was just gonna kind of give me a disciplinary action for being late. I was like, I don't think this is a good fit, because I made up an excuse. I was like, y'all told me I was gonna be in the field for like 6 to 8 months, and then I was gonna shift into the office, but they told me later that I was gonna be out in the field. They wanted me as a superintendent, so you're in the field all day, every day. And so I was like, well, they lied to me, that's why I justified what I did. And I was like, I don't think, this is gonna work out. And he was like, yeah, well, that's fine, if that's how you feel. So I quit. Didn't tell my parents, didn't have no plan after that either.
Just cut off your money supply.
That's right.
And you got a pretty bad addiction.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And so I, within a month, I had got a call from Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and that was weird because I just had my resume on a bunch of websites,
Mm-hmm.
and they called me. They're like, "Yeah, come in," and I met with them, and the recruiter, she liked me, and she was like, "Yeah, I think you could be good at this. You're good at customer sales. You seem like you're good at talking to people." And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And she was like, yeah, we'll start you out at this amount. And at that time I was like, that sounds good. I can live off of that. And I was running out of money really fast. So I jumped into that job, and was still using heavily. You know, they didn't test me or anything like that. And so I kind of had them fooled, because when I was on the pills, I was a great at sales and, you know, being a leader and everything like that. And within a few months, I was like in the top percentage of salesmen for the rental car company across the state. So I was going to all these events that they were taking us to, and you know, they were like, "We're going to promote you to assistant manager, and I think you'll be a area manager within a year and a half," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, this is good. This is working out," because I was able to keep doing what I was doing with the drugs, and I still felt like I had it together. You know.
How old were you about this time?
This was I was probably around 25.
Okay.
Yeah, 25. And I stayed with them, and I had them fooled for a long time, because I had a lot of managers that I got in tight with, and I would just make up all this stupid lies, you know, and they would believe me, you know, because when I was there, I was working, you know, I would do what I had to do, and I was producing for the company. Well, finally it caught up to me after being there for about 3 years, and I ended up having to tell my human resources manager and my new area manager, because he caught on to it quicker. He was like, "Look, I can't promote you if you're going to show up late. You know, you got to be an example for the ones under you." And stuff like that. And finally, I was like, "Look, I got a problem. I need some help." So,
How old were you when you said you need help? 25?
that was no, I was about 26, 27, somewhere around there.
So 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're coming up on a break, and you're 27. You've told your employer you need help. They've been letting you get away with it because you're a producer. But it sounds like things are about to start changing a bit when we come back.
Yep. I was good at putting on those masks for so long.
Yeah, and we can. We can all live under that mask and lie. And you're right. If you're a good employee and you can be trusted, they will believe you. But after a while, when it begins to get too repetitive, that's when you begin to see that wall of protection starting to crumble, because they're starting to see there is an issue involved. And I don't know, guys. Like I said, it's kind of like Jim White said one time. He was a nighttime host. He was in that dimly lit studio down the hall late at night on KMOX. He was on from 10 to 2. Great talk show. Remember one night he ran out of something to talk about? So he started an argument, is the tomato a fruit or a vegetable? And I mean, he killed the last hour and a half. I mean, there were managers, produce managers from competing grocery stores in the St. Louis area calling and saying, well, we, listed as a fruit. Well, we listed as a vegetable. People were calling with all these recipes, and he was that ingenious. And I remember one time a guy had called, and he, much like you, had been living a lie. He was very blunt with the guy. He said, "You need help. And the longer you're wasting time talking to me, the worse it is for you. You need to get help." Yeah, but he goes, "No, you need help. I'm going to give you an example. I'm the kind of man that can walk into a restaurant, sit down, order a cocktail, order a meal, eat my meal, drink another cocktail, get up, pay my bill, and go back to my normal life. You're the kind of guy that could go in there, order one cocktail, and it goes to 2. 2 goes to 4. 4 goes to 8. And the next thing you know, you're stinko.
That's right.
You need help now."
Yeah.
And he gave him some leads, but did the guy follow? You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Again, it's kind of like Lawrence Taylor in his autobiography talked about going to rehab and just basically looking at it as a joke. Finally, the last time it broke him, because there was this old guy there that used to check all these people in, and he looked at him and he said, "You're back here again? You're a fucking asshole. You're a fucking loser. A guy that's got the world at his feet, can have anything he wants, and look what you've done to your life. You're a fucking loser. Why are you even here? You're not going to do anything with your life. Shit, why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
Go out there and die. You might do somebody a favor. It's exactly what he told him. And Taylor was stunned.
Yeah.
And he got into his room and he sat there and he couldn't believe what he had just heard. And all of a sudden, he realized, you know what, I have got a problem and I am sweeping this under the rug. And I'm not only bullshitting others, I'm bullshitting me.
Myself, yep.
Bullshitting me. And he said, to show you how stupid I was, he said, here I am, a member of the Giants. I am so hard up for coke, I go into Harlem. And you would think me being a black guy, I'm safe. I'm not. And he was getting set up. He nearly killed a guy because they tried to set him up, 3 of them. Now, he was a big man.
Yeah.
He could handle himself.
Right.
And all this started flashing through his head. And finally, he broke down and he changed. And people were still leery, but he changed. It was hard. And like he said, once you're an addict, you're always an addict. You're not immune from it. You have to continue staying away. It's like anything. It's sex, drugs, alcohol, anything like that. You're not immune to it. You're an addict. And the minute you give into that temptation, well, I'll just do it one time. It'll be okay. It leads to 2 times. And then you go on and on. Dude, I am amazed you're still alive.
Oh, yeah, I know.
How many pills a day did you pop?
I was taking anywhere from 160 to 300 milligrams of pain pills, but it progressed from there.
God
I was
damn,
doing
bud.
$500 worth of heroin a day before I came here.
How the fuck were you living like that? God damn it, man. Dude, you got balls of steel. Shit, I ain't fucking around with you. That's some serious shit, man. I'm telling you, man, people have no idea until you've been there. Like I said, I look at this man, and I tell you what a great example this man is to all you guys and gals. That's the truth.
Yeah, this is life or death, man. I got so many friends that are...
Get ready, boys.
Okay. Welcome back to Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. We've been listening to Brad's story here, but before we do, let's give a quick shout out to our show sponsor, which is Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local auto shop here in town. Not auto body. Sorry, I'm going to add another business to it. Auto shop, ready to service any of your auto needs. And you got need a battery, you need an alternator starter, you need a head gasket. Give them a call. They're ready to fix you up. And understand too that while you're getting a good job done, having your car fixed, you're also going to help support a recovery ministry for men here, which is Freedom Farm Ministries. All the profits go to Freedom Farm Ministries to run the program. So give them a call if you got a problem. The engine light's on. 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. And if you have good used resellable items that you want to donate to our thrift store, we'll be happy to come pick them up. Or if you need firewood during this winter. Man, it's cold this morning.
Yeah, it is.
So if you need wood, give them a call. 828-386-6200. That's 828-386-6200. That's the store, kind of the hub. Well, they'll direct you to firewood or if you need stuff picked up. Anyway, all right, Brad. So you've worked in enterprise car rental, 27 years old. You've been playing the game for quite a while.
Yes, sir.
And you finally have gotten to the point to where you've told your boss that you need help. What happened next?
Yep. And so they agreed that I was going to take a 30-day leave. They were still going to pay me.
Wow.
And I was going to have to figure out what I needed to do. Well, instead of trying to go to an inpatient rehab or something, I had it worked out in my mind because I've been talking to some of my buddies, and they're like, you should just go to the methadone clinic. You should go to the methadone clinic. It's easy, and you keep, you don't get sick.
Right.
And, so I did that, to the methadone clinic and started taking methadone every day, and got them linked up with my HR manager back at Enterprise, and so they were calling her and checking in with me, and I was doing like I was supposed to do, going every day, meeting with the doctor and the counselor, and everything was good. So after the 30 days, they cleared me to come back to work. You know, they knew I was going to still have to go every day and dose, you know, early in the morning, and continue to do that so that I could, you know, be okay. And
So for those that, I mean, I'm probably anybody listening that's interested in what we're talking about probably knows what a methadone clinic is, but for those of you who don't, methadone is a drug which is an opiate. Okay? It is an opiate, and they give it to you in order to stop using the opiates that you're using. They give you another opiate.
Yep.
And these clinics exist because they're federally funded.
Yep.
And what you do is you have to show up every morning, and you have to get a dose. They give you a dose, and after you build up a trust with them, sometimes you get what's called take-home doses for the weekend. They'll give you enough to take for the weekend, but you take this drug so that you don't use the other drugs. But you got to go there every single day.
Every day.
And it's really easy to get up to they're supposed to be backing you off, but it's really easy to go up there and start getting more.
Oh, when I asked to be weaned down, they were like, "No, if anything, you need to be going up. Like, look at how long you've been using. You don't need to rush this, you know."
And unfortunately, the thinking behind this is, and I had this experience one time. My wife and I, when we were first married, we had to get government assistance. We had a baby and all that, and you know, praise God, we have safety nets and stuff like that, you know. But when we went in there, my wife ended up getting a job. She actually makes more money than me. She's a nurse, and we went to we were like, well, we don't need this assistance anymore. And I'm not lying to you. They told my wife, it doesn't matter. You're in, and you need to just stay with it.
Just
keep getting the benefit.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, that's not right. We don't need it anymore. And they said, well, if you don't, then next year's budget will be reduced because we need to justify. We don't want a reduction in our budget.
Yeah.
We always want more increase. So stay on it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same mentality,
That's right.
you know.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
It's,
I was a little disappointed in that whole situation. So anyway, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So I got back to work and I was doing good. You know, been at the clinic for a few months now, and was, you know, still succeeding at work and doing what I was supposed to on time and everything like that. And I got promoted to the assistant management position. You know, making more money, and had a nice little apartment I was renting in Wilson, and truck was paid for and everything like that. And so one of my buddies that was going to the clinic at that time, he ran into me outside in the parking lot at the clinic, and he was like, "Hey man, I've got this stuff. It's called fentanyl." I was like, "Oh yeah?" He's like, "Yeah, and they can't read it on the test." He's like, it'll give you a little extra boost, you know, whatever. I was like, "Well, that's cool, I guess." And so I started messing with carfentanil, which he was ordering off of the internet, and it was in pure form. It wasn't used to cut heroin or anything like that. It was just pure carfentanil, and I was snorting it in a nasal spray bottle, and still going to the clinic. They could not register it on the 12-panel test that they were given, and I got really bad on that really quick because, you know, of course, fentanyl is like 100 times more potent than any other opiate out there. And I got to the point where I was having to wake up at like, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, just to do some so I could sleep through the night. I couldn't sleep, you know, 8-hour period without getting up 2 or 3 times to do some, because I'd wake up sweating, you know, bad, terrible withdrawals. And I started spending a lot of money on that, a whole lot. And I got like, this was going on for like a couple months, and I got to where I was like a month behind on my rent. Could never get caught up. Ended up getting 2 months behind, and they were serving papers on me, telling me that I was going to be evicted and everything like that. And finally, the clinic kind of caught on to it, I think, because a lot of us were doing it, and they started using a different test. And one day the counselor called me. She was like, "I need to meet with you before you dose." I was like, "Okay." So I went in there, and she was like, you have enough carfentanil in your system to kill a horse." I was like, "What are you talking about?" You know? She's like, "Yeah, we have this new test here now."
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, I lost all my take-homes, and
Lost them, right?
yeah, lost all my take-homes that I had acquired, you know, building my trust up with them. And so my work started to decline too, because the methadone, when I had just that, it wouldn't make me feel well enough by itself to go to work. So I got back into the same cycle where I was having to have the fentanyl every day. And finally, I realized the clinic wasn't working, so I phased out of the clinic while still doing the carfentanil. And I just kept getting pulled into my manager's office, and she was, you know, writing me up for being late and stuff like that, and, you know, taking too long of lunch. And because every day I was having to go and meet my buddy to get that, because I couldn't function without it. And it got really bad, and I knew I was probably on the verge of losing that job, being fired. And I made up this grand story that, "Oh, I don't think this is right for me anymore."
Sounds like you had that story before.
Yes, and I approached my dad at this point, and I was like, "Dad, you know, I got this construction management degree. I'm not using it. Like, I really want to, you know, work with you," because he owns his own construction business, and he builds houses in Wilson. And you know, I was like, "I'll be happy if I get this. You know, this has been my lifelong dream. So if I can get to this, I'll be good." And so he was like, "Well, you know, business was picking up at that time. It was around 2000. What was it? 2000, about 2 years ago. Yeah." And I talked to my manager, and they were like, "Well, you know, if you're not happy here, that's fine." So I quit there, and started working for my dad. Well, of course, I was still doing the fentanyl, and my parents realized it real quick, especially my dad, because I was working for him now.
Yeah.
And he could tell that I
Seeing
wasn't.
you a lot more, talking to you a lot more.
My
Yeah.
work habits were terrible, you know, and I was just taking advantage of them. And finally, it got to the point, because they had knew this whole time that something was up. They would just like ask me here and there, what's going on, and I would brush it under the table, because I was like, "Well, I'm still paying my bills somewhat, you know, and I'm still, you know, I got a job, you know, whatever." And at this point in time, they were like, "Look, you're going somewhere. You need to go to a rehab." And they were new to this. They had no idea. You know, my parents don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do nothing.
Right.
You know, and so they were trying to do everything they could, what they thought was right, you know. So they ended up sending me to a 28-day program in Greensboro at Fellowship Hall.
I just visited there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great place, but
$16,000 for 28 days.
yeah, it was very expensive. I think they had to pay a $5,000 down payment just for me to walk in the door. And when I got there, ended up getting kicked out after 16 days because someone had brought drugs into the facility, and I felt so bad I used them.
Well, let's take a pause there, because we got a break coming up, and when we come back, we will pick up from getting kicked out of Fellowship Hall, and we'll have to bring it home, because that'll be our final 12 minutes with our friend Brad. So stick with us. We'll be back with Brad. All right.
God, dude, how the hell do you get kicked out of a dude?
I'll go. So now I'll start talking about the rehabs and kind of fast forward a little bit to here.
You were going to
Man,
11:30.
Because really the last 2 years have just been going to rehab and not succeeding, and you know, still doing the same old things when I get
Dude,
home.
I'm telling you what. How the hell are you even alive?
I know.
It's easy to lie to yourself,
It
though.
is. It is.
Cody, if you're watching, I see that you're on there. You were supposed to call me. You didn't call me back. So here's your reminder.
Donations are welcome during business hours, and they'll pick up anything of good quality from your home or business. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9:30 to 5. Call 386-6200 or learn more at Freedom Farm Ministries.
We're only down to 2 people now watching, but we had quite a few.
It'll be up there for future.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to, when I've been doing this for so long, it's hard to really pick out like what I need to say and.
You're doing
You're
great.
doing great,
You're doing
dude.
great. Yeah,
I mean,
don't worry.
my God,
When
dude.
you told me that this is not your forte, I mean, there's no indication that you're having any
Dude,
kind
take
of
a
hard
word of
time.
advice from him. He's right. You need to be talking to other people about this. You really do.
You're very comfortable. None of this seems forced or anything like that. So you're doing a great job.
Here we go, guys.
Cool
We are
hearing
at
everything.
18 seconds.
18 seconds. And this is it. So
Okay.
Care over 12 months. Contact Appalachian New River Veterinary Associates today to find out more. Go to
we go.
ANR.
welcome back to Recovery Talk. Hope and help for the hurting. Recovery Talk's brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local shop here in town ready to fix your car for you. But you can get your car fixed professionally and support a good cause at the same time. The profits and proceeds from Freedom Auto Tech go to support men in recovery through the Ministry of Freedom Farm. 828-355-4434 is the number to give them a call if you got your car light on or something, check engine light, need a tire or whatever. 828-355-4434. I wanted to rush through that because I wanted to give you enough time to bring us home, my friend. We got 10 minutes.
Okay.
And you just got kicked out of Fellowship Hall, and I mentioned how much that place costs. And I'm not down in Fellowship Hall.
Yeah.
It's probably the premier secular rehab in North Carolina. I just visited there, had a nice tour, beautiful campus. 100 people go there. They have 100 beds there. It's $16,000 you're paying out of pocket for the first month.
Yep.
Insurance, it's $19,000. If you want to stay for an additional 60 days, it's $17,000. And that is not covered by insurance. You have to pay out of pocket for that. Anyway, I've known quite a few people, but what happened after Fellowship Hall?
All right. So I got back home and, I was like, well, I have 16 days, sort of clean, minus
Did your
the
parents know you
missing-
used the Fellowship Hall?
Yes, because my mom was actually there for family week, and I had to pull her into counselor. He was like, "You want me to tell her?" I was like, "No, man, I did it. I'm gonna tell her." So, of course, they were disappointed about that, and got back home, and I was like, "I'm just gonna stay in tight with y'all, start going to church and everything like I should," and because I had a good support system throughout this, at church and with friends that were plugged into church, and after that, I still got back home and I was having trouble sleeping, body aches and everything like that. So I was like taking a little bit of Suboxone here and there. I was buying off the streets. And
Suboxone's basically another form of methadone, everybody. If you don't know, it's called buprenorphine. It's the modern day methadone.
and I was like trying my best, everything in my power to really stop, defeat this thing. And every time, after a few weeks of sobriety, I would run into someone, or I'd just get to where I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do it this one time, and I'd start back, and it was never just one time.
Right. Were you working for Dad still?
Yes, still working for him.
And
Yes, he
I think
was-
it's important to tell the audience too, especially if your dad's watching. Your dad is a contractor, builds homes, but that's pretty much his side job now. He's really a barbecue expert.
Yeah, that's what he
I became
likes to
friends
think.
with Brad's dad on Facebook ever since I met him. His dad posts pictures of barbecue almost every week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you so thin?
Yeah.
Maybe because you have Crohn's disease.
That's
because your dad cooks up a storm.
Yes.
So anyway,
he's really good at that.
he is.
But so I couldn't do this on my own, and I started to realize this because one of my buddies, who was actually my roommate, he was getting really involved at church, and he was working on me, man. The Holy Spirit really was working through him, and I could tell because he told me one time, he was like, "You need to listen to this testimony of this guy," and it was just an evangelist named Todd White, and I remember that. You know, that was kind of like a key moment in my life because I was sitting there watching this in my apartment by myself, and I was like, kind of like the Romans 7 thing where Paul talks about, you know, I do what I don't want to do, and I can't do what I want to do. You know, I was at that point because I really wanted to fight this thing and stop. And I was watching that testimony. I remember I just like broke down. I was like, you know, God, I can't do this on my own anymore. And I ended
Defining moment in life.
Yes, it was. And I was still, you know, messing with the drugs, and my parents were coming to me. They were like, "Look, we know something's up. You need to go somewhere else. You need to go somewhere else." Ended up going to Women's Treatment Center. Stayed the 28 days there. Did it right. Well, it was crazy because I kind of felt like I wanted to go somewhere that was Christ-centered, but I knew I needed to be detoxed. So that's why I went there first. And my parents were looking, and I was talking to them the whole time, talking to the counselor, and they were trying to get me in Hebron up here. And like the last week I was there, I met this guy from Eastern North Carolina at Women's Treatment Center, and he was like, "Well, look, I know Hebron's got a long, you know, wait list or whatever." He's like, "You need to check out this place called Southeastern Carolina Crossroads in Bladen County." So I called him when I was leaving WTC and in Wilmington, and they were like, "Yeah, it's a 42-day program. Here, let's do a phone interview." And they did it right there, and they were like, "You can come tomorrow." I was like, "Cool," you know. And but of course, I had just got out of there. I was like, "Well, can you give me until like next Tuesday?"
You know how many times the guys call me and I say, "Okay, come tomorrow," and they're like, "Well, let me get a couple days."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I've literally had guys die in those couple days."
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. And so I went home for a couple days, and I did mess up a little bit. So when I got there, I was still detoxing a little bit, which they didn't care. And it was like kind of the same format as here, just only 42 days. So really, you know, not a lot of time. And went through it, and I felt like lights were going off in my head when I started reading, you know, the Bible, getting into the Word and everything. And you know, the pastor was like, "Man," he was like, "I think you got this thing, you know, drugs are in your past, you know, blah, blah, blah." You know, and I wanted to believe it, and then, but I still feel like I had to, you know, get to that breaking point, you know, where I was at the end of myself. And I got a big issue with pride. I'm still working on that too. But so I went back out after the 42 days. I was like, I'm good, you know. And probably I stayed sober for like 3 to 4 months, and started tampering again. I was drinking. I just started hanging out with some old friends that were from high school, and they were like, we know you had a problem or whatever, but we just drink. We don't do drugs. I was like, okay, well, that sounds safe, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And so I went and started hanging out with them, drinking, you know, a couple times on the weekends, and eventually ran into people at the bars and started using again. And my parents caught on to it quicker this time, which I'm thankful to them for that. And sent me back to Carolina Crossroads a second time. This time it was a 60-day program. I was like, oh yeah, you know, a couple more days, 18 more days. And I got to the end, and my parents, they were like, you sure you want to stay? Because I could have stayed there, like in a leadership position, kind of, if I wanted to. But I was like, no, I got it this time. You know,
Yeah.
I can make it sound good to them, you know, for them to let me come back home. So I came back home, and finally I kept doing the same thing I did after, like, I relapsed after like 2 months this time. And I was stealing money, pawning my dad's guns, broke into his office, writing checks out of the business account.
Ugh.
I mean, I was going through, like I said, $500-600 a day for drugs. And my dad, every time I wanted him just to be so mad at me, but he wasn't. Like, it hurt me because I was like, God, why is he not mad? And he's like, Brad, what do we need to do to help you? And I thank God for my parents, you know, and because they were like, look, this is the deal. You can either go to a year program or we can't help you no more. This is it. Like, we're not, this is the line. And so I was going to go to Teen Challenge. My dad is the one that found Freedom Farm online. And I looked at the format, and I was like, well, this looks cool, you know? So that's how I got here, you know?
So Brad, thanks for sharing your story. We're running down to the end of our time together, 2 minutes left. But from what I can tell is that you cried out to God for help, and he started to kind of show you that I can help you. And you had these experiences in these short-term programs, and then you kind of just said, you know what, the last thing I need to do is maybe just extend my time. And you know what? One of the big things, it's no secret, one of the big things when it comes to dealing with people in addiction is time. I mean, just literally sober time, living differently is one big thing that helps people when it comes to finally living a sober life. So that's the reason why Freedom Farm is a year-long commitment. It's kind of open-ended, too. We say, give me a year minimum, but you know, since being here, we have guys that stay longer.
Right.
And some guys need more time. But at least we kind of get you with that mindset where, you know what, I'm here for at least a year. And you know what, I'm proud of you, Brad, because, you know, you got a lot of abilities, and you decided that instead of going out there and getting a job, you actually became a support staff at Freedom Farm. You're basically a glorified babysitter. you just watch the guys for us, you know. You drive people around for us and whatnot. But you know, that's a huge help, and that kind of shows me you're kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
You're 30, but you know what? You're only 30.
That's right.
And you know what? You need to take the time to make sure that you take each step forward in confidence that you're ready for that step and not rush it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no need to rush it, and we're here to walk along with you.
Right.
Anyway, brother, can't thank your parents personally, myself too, enough. They've been a support of Freedom Farm. They have been very supportive of you, and it's really great to see parents that are coming alongside. It takes a village, my friend. Kind of like what Mike was saying earlier with the baseball guy. We got a commercial. No. Sorry about that. We got it takes a village. Like I was saying, community is absolutely necessary when it comes if you're ever going to have some real success. So what did that do to us just now? How much time we got? Oh, we're done. Okay, so we're done, and we'll be back with you next Thursday. Bradley, thank you so much for coming and sharing it. Mike, thanks for running the show with us today. We'll see you next week. Can you hand me that phone?
That was a great story, guys.
It was. You did great, man.